Hey, what's happening guys? It's Bharat for iGyaan, and today we're going to be running benchmarks on the newly launched Gionee Elife E7. Now the E7 comes with a Qualcomm Snapdragon 800 chipset which runs on quad cores on 2.2 GHz. You also get the Adreno 330 GPU on this device, but let's not talk about that and let's quickly jump into hardware specifications that are available on Quadrant standard. So if you jump into the system information, you can see that this device is running Android 4.2.2 and it is the Gionee Elife E7. On board is an MSM 8974, which is the Snapdragon 800. It is an ARM V7 processor and the frequency is 2.2 GHz. You can also see that the black color on the left is the 2 GB variant, so you can see 2 GB of RAM, and the pink color on the right is the 3 GB variant, so you can see 3 GB of RAM. Once we jump over to the display, you can see that it's a 1920 by 1080p display with a DPI of 160 by 160, and you can see the Qualcomm Adreno 330 GPU. For sensors, we have a whole array of sensors, but they haven't been listed out completely. But we do see the gravity sensor, orientation sensor, linear acceleration sensor, rotation vector, basic gesture sensor, a facing sensor, tilt sensor, and a gyro tap sensor. So a bunch of sensors in the device. Let's run a full benchmark. Now after the full benchmark, we saw that this device has an impressive score. In fact, the score is so big for Quadrant that you can barely read it thanks to the size of the bar that it creates. So on the left, the 2 GB variant gets a score of 20209 or 20,209, and on the right, the 3 GB variant gets a score of 21269 or 21,269, which is fairly impressive on Quadrant. Let's go on ahead and move over to Nina Mark II. We ran Nina Mark II on both these devices, and over to the left, the 2 GB variant of the E7 got 63.2 on Nina Mark, and the 3 GB variant got 63.8. We're also going to run a Antutu benchmark and see what the score is like. Funnily enough, the 2 GB variant of the Gionee E7 got 34727 as the score, which is 34,727, which came on top of the Galaxy Note 3, which makes it by far the most impressive in terms of hardware benchmarks. The 3 GB variant, however, got a lower score of 34644 or 34,644, which is not too far away from the score received on the 2 GB variant. So Antutu doesn't consider the increase in RAM as a considerable upgrade. You can also see that Antutu scores this device as excellent in all fields, including 2D and 3D graphics and multitasking. We also ran a GFX benchmark, and we selected only 4 tests for our benchmark, including the 2.7 T-Rex HD, the 2.5 Egypt HD, the fill rate, and the triangle throughput textured. While on the Rex HD and the Egypt HD, the 3 GB variant got a slightly higher score of 6782 and 1286 on 23 and 60 FPS. On Texels and Triangles, the 2 GB variant got a slightly higher score. So not a lot of difference between both these devices. We also ran a multi-touch test, and both these devices scored 10 touch inputs, so it's a fantastic screen with 10-point multi-touch input. We also tried to pop in an 11th finger and it did not recognize that. So overall, although there is a considerable improvement in Quadrant and Nina Mark scores, Antutu and GFX bench scores show that 1 GB of additional RAM does not make that much of a big difference in terms of performance. Although with the 3 GB variant, you also get double the storage of 32 GB versus the 16 GB on the 2 GB variant. Either way, for just a price difference of about 2,000 rupees, the end customer can very easily go for the higher variant versus the lower variant. If you have any questions or queries, do drop them in the comment section below. You can also catch us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+. Check out the full details on iGyaan.in, and do subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/iGyaan, youtube.com/iGyaanTV. For iGyaan Networks, this is me, Bharat. Thank you for watching.